Hey everyone, welcome to Joygasm's Otaku Tonight
Today.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Premium Steve.
And today we're going to talk about Nintendo, the greatest gaming company ever.
Fanboy.
Fanboy?
Fanboy.
A little bit. A little bit. Got my Nintendo shirt, which makes me a cassette.
Zelda wristlet.
Well, this is brand new.
Brand new. Shiny.
Mm-hmm.
But Nintendo's been around for quite a while. Before they were a gaming company, they were a card company.
Yes, playing cards. No. Yes. Playing cards.
I actually have some of those playing cards somewhere. They weren't like American playing cards where they've got the numbers on them.
Yeah.
They're a Japanese game playing card.
Right, a different kind of, not poker cards.
Yeah, and their first delve into video games was the 2D, if anybody remembers, like the Tiger games or Tyco games that were like on a colored background screen and just a black character showed up on top or whatever it did.
Those really kind of lame games.
They initially came out with the dual screens on that.
That was the Game & Watch. We said it together.
And that was the inspiration for the DS,
which
was Game & Watch.
Yeah,
from the original thing.
So all you like 13-year-olds out there playing Smash Brothers don't know who Game & Watch is, and with the frying pan, that's where he came from, the old beautiful system.
And then they launched the Famicom Family Entertainment System.
Yep.
In Japan, recolored it, redesigned it for America.
Made it more. Was it more? It got bigger when it
They
came
made
to
it
America.
more like a VCR because people were comfortable with the front-loading VCR. Yeah. So they likened it to that, and video game systems had just taken a tank. Big tank in the mid-'80s.
Oh, yeah.
You had Atari, ColecoVision, all those went down the pot. So they wanted to rebrand it, so that's why it's called Nintendo Entertainment System, and they would not use video game at all.
Right.
So, I mean, going along their legacy, they brought back the home console market. Then they introduced the pocket market with their big brick Game Boy. With
the screen was pretty much just green and black.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But it was more detailed than the Game & Watch. You could actually do a whole level with the cartridges.
Yeah.
They had competitors. It held true.
Sega's Game Gear, which was about this big.
You had Neo Geo. But it held true, beat out all those, pretty much the only contender in the handheld market. And then you went on to Super Nintendo where they started introducing some more multiplayer games.
16-bit. What's there?
You had your Mario Kart coming out. And then they went to 64-bit.
Yep.
Which was your Smash was the big introduction there.
No. Super Mario World.
Super
Mario 64. Yeah, it was the Super Mario 64. What I remember about that was it being like the first like full open world 3D game, and it was amazing.
That was definitely the introductory title. Though the runaway title, I would say, is Smash. Still making sequels to it.
Well, yeah. Well, they're still making sequels to Mario too.
Well, they're never gonna stop.
No, they won't. But
and then. On the Game Boy, you had the introduction of one of their runaway franchises, Pokemon.
Yeah. Pokemon is the biggest thing for anyone that does handheld.
And that's going to be a whole topic in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Some point in the future. So we have this great history in Nintendo. They did innovation. They put the D-pad on there. They did the 4-layout button configuration.
First LNR.
And then
they added
trigger.
the Z trigger on 64. I mean, they changed the way. I mean, how
that was reinvention of the motion control, where they actually made it fun because PlayStation had it earlier.
Oh yeah, they did.
But it wasn't well adopted. It wasn't, it was a side.
And then PlayStation had it again after the Wii came out, but had a little ball on it.
Yeah,
and that was.
But they actually corely incorporated it as a part of their gaming system, where everything utilized the motion control.
Oh yeah.
To some aspect. And then they did the dual screen with the 3D handheld.
Yep. They made 3D, possible without glasses, which I never thought would be. Except, I mean, they took
and all this stuff is based on old, simple technology. They're just making it fun and accessible. Then they came out with the Wii U, which is a little rough, and then they have a new project that I am quite surprised how tight-lipped they're keeping about it.
I haven't
heard anything other than a project name.
What's the project name? I remember the only project NX.
Yeah.
The only project name I remember that stuck with me was Project Dolphin, and I think that was for the 64.
No, I think that was
Or GameCube. Or one of those. GameCube to me was probably one of their best consoles for me. I know it was like one of their not greatest consoles.
That was the first one that I took everywhere with me. I would just pack it up,
had a handle.
throw it in a bag.
It had a handle.
Yeah.
It's easy.
It was easy to transport.
And I think 64 probably for me had one of the most funnest games. That Star Wars, what was
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
You had GoldenEye.
You had Perfect Dark. You had that Star Fox when that came out. Star Fox 64.
Yep.
Oh my God.
There's just so many Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 64. I mean, you just had all these iconic core games to it.
So I mean, it's kind of sad now that Iwata is gone from Nintendo. So I'm wondering who's gonna take over.
He had gotten a lot of heat after the profitability of Nintendo fell.
Yeah.
And they were unprofitable for a few years, I think 3-5 years. But again, the ones that they're competing with, PlayStation, Xbox, they're owned by larger parent companies that can weather that storm. Nintendo is just Nintendo. That's all they do. But yeah, they have more cash surplus than Sony and then Microsoft had as companies as a whole.
Well, yeah, I mean,
which was ironic that they're larger companies and don't have as big of a cash surplus. But though I suppose they're investing in other things.
Well, the direction Sony and Microsoft are going right now is that they're kind of just making entertainment kind of overall all entertainment systems for everything.
And that gets us to kind of the Wii U and maybe whatever the next project is you have your first forte into living room immersive gaming with Nintendo. Their first stab at it.
See, they're trying to do that. I mean, they could do it really easily, but I think they're kind of just still trying to focus more on the gaming aspect of everything. That's why they're trying to do all these.
They introduced a lot of social content, which the message boards and the pictures I like. I think it's a little bit different than what online gameplay has been, which is mostly just people trash talking each other in an online multiplayer.
I never really cared for multiplayer games.
The Street Pass thing is cool with the 3DS where you get extra stuff in games.
I just got a 3DS, so I'm excited. I've never had one. And for some reason, the 3D aspect doesn't work on Harvest Moon when I turn it on. So
yeah, it's better on some than others. But on that aspect, even for the 3DS or the DS or the Wii or the Wii U, there are hardcore games that come out.
Yeah.
Dark Souls was on there. Bayonetta was on there. Bayonetta was a Nintendo exclusive that they made a lot hardcore.
That's true.
Samus is a little more hardcore.
A little more hardcore. Yeah, I suppose. But
they get some of them. They had Call of Duty on there. It's just not that popular.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when people want to play hardcore games in general or shooters, anything that are gonna choose PlayStation or Xbox or the PC over Nintendo, but when they want to actually have just like fun and do something with like a bunch of people, they're gonna pick Nintendo. I mean, how many times have you played Mario Party and you've lost friends because of that?
I mean, it's a way to entertain friends. Wii Sports, which was the game that came with the Wii, I must have played that hundreds of times with friends as we were, hanging out.
I remember when that came out, it actually got my dad to play the game, and he was very good at the bowling.
And that's something that the other consoles really can't do, is break generational barriers.
Right.
They have a hardcore niche audience, and Nintendo seems to open it up to the other ones, which after people get exposed to it, they may decide they like something more from the Xbox world or the PlayStation world. But everybody got introduced to gaming pretty much on Nintendo, or most people did.
Yeah, that or Sega, but Sega, ended with the Dreamcast and is just a software company now.
Yeah, but I mean, for newer audiences, a lot of people picking up on Pokemon for the handhelds, or getting introduced into casual gaming because they don't consider themselves gamers.
Yeah, but casual gaming now is more for like is all on the phone for some reason.
Well, yeah,
it's sad. Like people would rather play games on their phone than pick up a DS and play it there.
And that's where I think you have I'll call Nintendo the gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
I think they're the gateway drug from that mobile phone time waster into doing something that's a simple, quick game that's a lot more fun instead of just the task-oriented mobile games.
Do you remember when a certain company tried to make mobile gaming and a phone like put it together? You remember the N-Gage? Yeah?
Yeah.
Didn't work well.
No.
So Nintendo, please do not put a cell phone capability in your 3DS.
So they did have that in the Game Boy. I don't know if it never released to America, but it was a cell phone network for, I think it was for the second generation of Pokemon had that option.
But they had the camera too with the printer.
Yeah. I remember that.
That's pretty funny.
I still have some printer paper for that, I think.
Just a roll.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's helped keep the market steady as the hardcore gamer generation gets older, that originally got introduced to some of the older consoles before PlayStation, before Xbox. Right. They're bringing new, younger audiences in. So I definitely think it keeps the industry going as a whole.
Oh yeah.
And if we were to lose someone like Nintendo and you were to come up with another contender, and they were competing more along the market of Xbox and PlayStation, I think there would be a lot of alienated people.
Yeah.
You'd see the market shrink back down again.
You'd see a lot less fun games and just a lot more like big Hollywood blockbuster Transformer type games where there's just shooting and running around, just shooting. It's all shooters. Everything is shooters right now.
Nintendo's been around for the great era of bloatware, where you had all these licensed games that came out that are awful. If you search online, you can find a lot of videos of these things. Shovelware was another one, where they just come out with these repurposed mascots. So they'd release a game in Japan, in America, in Europe, and they'd repurpose the character with a different sprite and call it something else so that they could just release it everywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing I liked about Nintendo, though, when you're talking about mascots, is that they had the most variety of like recognizable like characters directly for Nintendo. When I think Xbox, I think Halo, but then Halo's on PlayStation now. So,
no,
right? No,
Halo's still exclusive.
No, but it's on PC.
So you have Master Chief.
Master Chief. That's it.
PlayStation still.
Who does PlayStation have?
They did.
Jack and Daxter.
They did have two mascots that they kind of went away from.
Ratchet and Clank.
Well, their first one was this pixel-looking guy that had all these angles on him, and it was just a head. That was kind of their first mascot before the system launched. Then they switched over to Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot. See, I forgot about him.
But then they dropped him off.
They dug him in a hole and just put him away.
But you've had some of the iconic characters around since since Nintendo got into gaming, such as Mario, which I was getting at, Donkey Kong, Kirby. You have Zelda.
Yep. Link, Captain Falcon. Come on. Anyone from this?
Yeah.
They made a whole game about all their mascots fighting.
And others have tried to do that. PlayStation tried to do their Ultimate Battler.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have the range of characters in play that Nintendo had to make it fun and immersive. All their characters, it was kind of like a Street Fighter where everybody fought the same.
Well, yeah, all their characters were too serious looking to be in a game where you're trying to knock an opponent off of, level.
So I really likened it to like a Mortal Kombat, with the one that PlayStation released, and I like Mortal Kombat better than what they released because it's all these characters that it's not as good fighting as Mortal Kombat because you're doing the hardcore fighting.
Right.
But it's not as fun as something as Smash Brothers.
Where you can't see anything when the screen zooms out and there's like 6 people playing.
Yeah, and there's all these different iconic characters playing different fighting styles. One uses magic, one uses, jumps. So it's all this different stuff. And that's the thing that I like is they've pushed the limits, they've pushed the boundaries in gaming and in fun games. It's still about the games.
It is.
One of my pet peeves is cinematic cutscenes.
You see, I come from a film background, so I like cinematic cutscenes. Like Metal Gear, for instance, had like 25 to 40 minute long cutscenes, and I love that. But I mean,
but you're playing a game.
I
want to play through those cutscenes.
But you are playing the game. I mean, you could look around during the cutscenes, but I don't know. I like very cinematic style games. That's why I like Uncharted and The Last of Us.
I like those because they cut down a lot of the cutscenes, and that it used to be really bad when they came out with like Resident Evil, and that was kind of the idea behind GameCube. They made the small disc on purpose because they wanted developers to not make cutscenes. They go, you have to be very careful about what you do. We don't want an hour and a half the disc of cutscenes.
Right.
Which Resident Evil had a whole disc that was just cutscenes.
Yeah.
But now in the newer games, they're doing interactive play through those cutscenes where you can do action. So we'll drive you through, and then there's an action like a pause where you have to hit an action or do something and keep going. But speaking of cinematography, I think we're going to cover one of the greatest animes in cinematography that they've remade for next week.
Ah, yes. We'll talk about Evangelion. I pointed.
This is what I started watching anime with. This was my first one.
That's not my first one. My first one was much more violent. But
people talk about Evangelion as the sci-fi community talks about Star Wars. It's one of the holy grails. It's one you have to watch or have to have had watched, even if you don't like it. It's something you have to have in your back pocket. So we'll talk about that next week. But if you want to chat more about Nintendo to us or tell us facts maybe we don't know, just post some facts on Twitter or in the comment section below. OTT Nintendo.
Or Mario.
Fine.
No, we'll do OTT Nintendo.
OTT Nintendo.
But yeah, so be sure to subscribe. Check us out every Thursday. I think this is Friday, though, today. So, whoops. We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.